You're born Benjamin in short.
I was born named after my grandfather, who I didn't know, my father's father, Benno.
And I say, so you're always Benji.
I'm a Holocaust survivor.
But you're always Benji.
No,
Benjamin.
I never used the Benjie until I started traveling the world. And until my daughter was born.
Okay,
Really?
well, anyway, we met before then.
So you say, you
But
have
you
to
don't
forgive
remember
me,
me.
but I do not remember.
Okay, well, that's okay.
And I don't forget faces. Even more, I don't remember.
I might have just met you in passing. You know, when Tim and everybody was at the door, you know what I mean.
It could have been,
You might
but
have
then
been
you
coming
have an
over for dinner
absolutely
and
photographic memory, if that's true.
So I apologize anyway.
Well, for what?
By the way,
For Frank the Manic Aggressive? It's
Right.
okay. There were a lot of highly qualified people before you who believed that this was the same story. And it wasn't.
okay. Anyway, maybe it's something Lillian said at some point.
It also is possible. I can tell you a nice Lillian story, which has to do with some of the subject matter of our visit to Jerusalem today. In one of the graveyards back home, in other words, Łódź, okay, one of the graveyards back home, one of the Jewish graveyards, I can't say exactly whose it was, but one of the members of Lillian's family had a tombstone which was a massive monument with the entire history, generation by generation by generation going back,
Which country?
in Poland, I believe.
Okay.
And there is a good chance, because the Nazis, in fact, didn't bulldoze Jewish cemeteries.
What it did?
They didn't. If you go to Prague today, you'll see the old Jewish cemetery as it was left in 1945. The Wehrmacht didn't level them. My father's grandmother was buried in Jewish cemetery number 4 in Vienna, and I have the photograph as it is right now.
But they did destroy many cemeteries. You know it.
It was probably selective where it was worth their while, okay? Lillian's tombstone, Lillian's family's tombstone, I can't attest exactly to where it was, went all the way back to what we call the House of David.
I think she told me that once, yeah. Levi or something.
I'm not here to tell you, Bubermeisters, to tell you stories of things which didn't exist, like the lady that had 8 miracles rained down upon her in the Syriac church. Okay?
Yeah.
I remember this as a story which Lillian told me, to attest to her fact of being of Messianic origin. That's it.
Messianic origin or simply King David origin?
If the top line, not the bottom line, if the top line was King David, then it was Messianic origin.
Not in Judaism. Not in Judaism.
Absolutely, yes, in Judaism. I know dozens of people who have the same family story. Including my friends, Kobi and Yoni, who built the exhibition.
As Hannah told you, not a big deal, Messiah.
Hannah told me it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
You're absolutely right. I've done as much as I possibly can to make it not a big deal. And by the way I did that was getting re-diagnosed and not being mildly manic depressive.
Oh, I feel bad. I really apologize.
You shouldn't feel bad. I simply cannot recall having bumped into you in this
Just in passing.
Snoop, what did you call it? The Snoop hole?
The Snoop hole.
The Snoop hole.
Just in passing, I met a lot of friends of Lillian's and Tim's and Isaac's, just in passing.
I can give you an exact timetable because that was actually when I finished my European trip and got down to serious traveling because I decided to abandon any plan that I would make and just let things take me from one place to the next. And that continued another 6 years. At the end of that period of time, not at the end, but at a certain interval, I came back to the snoop hole. I came back to the snoop hole and my bed was taken.
That's life. Yes, I know.
And they looked after me when I was pretty much a raving lunatic.
Okay.
Somebody had slipped me, a friend had slipped me an LSD Toklas brownie.
Okay.
I'm not sure that Itzhaki actually knows the story of the LSD Toklas brownies.
Which one?
Gertrude Stein was the madam of the Paris salon, where most of the expatriate Americans living in were part of this. She had a girlfriend, a permanent live-in girlfriend, her partner in life, called Alice B. Toklas. And Alice B. Toklas. Alice B. Toklas was responsible for being the first purveyor of chocolate cakes with LSD inside them.
Hilarious.
One of my so-called good friends slipped me one of these, unbeknownst, and the rest is history. I was no longer diagnosed as being mildly manic depressive.
I miss the connection between
Alice B. Toklas?
Gertrude Stein and you.
Somebody slipped me an Alice B. Toklas cookie. In other words, a chocolate cake with LSD inside.
Which is very bad for you, LSD.
Which blew my head.
Yeah, it's very bad.
It actually took me close on 6 months to recover from that particular adventure.
That's death penalty for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, my friend, my flatmate Omar took LSD all the time, but he can take it. I just wonder why. My boss at EMI, Michael, he was an acid dropping freak when he was at university.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just don't know how these people can do these chemical things to their bodies.
Basically by lack of in-depth knowledge about the biochemistry involved.
Chemistry involved. Right.
But I am the same Frank, mildly depressive, who until 4 short years ago was actually being treated by professionals and medicated on the basis of the assumption that what my DNA affliction was what it wasn't.
So you got it wrong.
It's not that they got it wrong, it's that they had it wrong for 4 decades. So all of my adventures in life, including things like marriage and family and bringing up a daughter and working my arse off to support the family, all these things were 3 times as difficult as they would be for anybody else. Every time there was another, which by the way never manifested itself in any kind of depressive way at all. But it was diagnosed as something else, and when I got the right medication, then I could live like one of, normal human beings.
Well, my sister's been on depression medication since she was in her teens on and off.
Okay. Not fun.
No, having a brother like me must have really pissed her off.
Not fun.
And she couldn't, she told me just a few years ago, well, you never noticed me in my teens when I was depressed. That's why she didn't go to university.
You want to excuse me, Mr.
Yeah.
Boss? גבוש, אנחנו שותים קפה בבית המלון של סמיר, שלושתנו, ואז אנחנו בדרך חזרה לאגד פה בירושלים. נו, גובוש, היה לנו יום מתיש עם הכל של הכל. אני יכול להעביר אותך שנייה ליצחקי?
And like Jeffrey, and there were other people there too, and I think there was that American couple.
You remember Jeffrey? It's funny.
Jeffrey, no, I really liked him. I went out with him a few times myself.
I feel really guilty. I never kept in touch with him.
Yeah, no, I did after you
You
left.
haven't seen Jeffrey? He
I
was,
really don't recall who Geoffrey was unless he was Schlüssel.
you remember,
He was a
remember Esther?
Mancunian Jew.
Remember Esther?
Of course, that's the wind.
Esther and Geoffrey live in the same house.
And Esther is still in London?
Esther?
Esther Wind.
Esther Wynn is now, she's now called Esther Levine,
Okay.
married to Sam
Married to Sam and living in London?
in Melbourne, next to
In
me.
Melbourne, next to you.
Next to me.
Okay.
Sam is my best mate. Sam's mom.
1-0 to you. I didn't have you sussed out.
What do you mean sussed out?
You know what I mean. In Manchester, when a person says, I'll suss you out,
Oh.
it's English slang, English working class slang for I got you figured.
Okay.
Okay? You can try and pull the wool over my eyes, but I got you figured.
Okay, well, I don't like pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. I'm not that sort of person.
You'll just have to forgive me, David. I remember everyone in my life called David because that was the name of my brother.
Okay.
It was the name of Lillians' family, the house of David.
Yes, of course.
And there is every possibility, unprovable at this stage, that Isaac is also from the house of David as a prince,
Certainly.
as a Sephardi prince.
As Sephardi, very good.
In other words, emanating from Spain, from the golden
Yeah.
age of Spain, which is one side of his family. He's got a double side because he's also got a South American element. His mother.
Oh, yeah, his mother, yes, of course. Yes, as I found out last week from his sister.
Do you think I'm going to get divorced if we don't start making a move in the direction of the...
What did the wife say?
I don't know. You spoke to her. I'm not her control. She is mine.
If you want to head back, we can. I'm sorry if I've held it everybody
Not
up.
at all.
I'm just enjoying the vibe
It's
of...
beautiful here.
Jerusalem.
I don't recall that we were given a deadline.
No,
It's almost like I've been in a theme park and the city doesn't really exist. You know what I mean? It's almost like a theme park.
Welcome to Jerusalem. This is the ultimate service.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate Ringling Brothers 3-ring circus.
It's so clean.
Jerusalem is not clean. Jerusalem is covered with 3,000 years of blood.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my good friends who really understood a thing or two, she was an artist. And I came to her with some of my initial ideas about Jerusalem and projects and this, that, and the other, and said, listen, my good friend, you want to get anything changed in Jerusalem in any way, you have to get down with a spachtel, with a triangular plasterer's knife, and scrape off 3,000 years of bloodshed from the flagstones. Then start.
you can't.
Can't do that.
You can't clean the blood, Benjie. The blood is forever.
Every time it's Haki, I have thought of lifting my hands and saying, I'm going home, I'm going to look after my family, to hell with Jerusalem, to hell with whatever plans. I come very close to saying, you can't. And something happens that I get a little push forward, a little dose of optimism, and I meet yet another outstanding personality in Jerusalem that actually says discreetly, you can do it, go for it.
Good.
Like the two brothers who own this hotel,
Yeah.
and whose family has been the owners of this hotel for decades. In other words, they're the leading Palestinian, Jerusalem, Arab families.
What's the name?
The name of the family is Farwaji.
Kawaji.
Farwaji. And this was Shukri, the one who was sitting here when we came here. And the one who was just leaving is my really good friend Samir.
Ah, yes, the one we met
And our
earlier.
coffee, he would like it to be gin and tonic. Yeah, he's okay because he's a Christian and he's from the Latin Church. In other words, he's a Roman Catholic.
He's a Christian.
Yeah.
So,
His good friend and my good friend, the architect, is from the Abu Shanab family. And he sometimes calls himself Peter, sometimes he calls himself Butrus, and if you happen to be the chairman of the United Nations, you call yourself Butrus. So I usually call him when we meet Butrus.
So even Christians don't like to speak Hebrew.
No?
No, it's true.
As close as they are culturally and morally and spiritually to Arab Christians in the Holy Land alongside Israelis. For example, we met someone today from one of the two Copts. One of them was from Rame.
Yeah.
They were both Druze. One of them was from Rame. The leading Arab actress in this country, who I said also was sent to participate in the Eurovision. She speaks perfect Hebrew. She's an actress. And even she is in a delicate situation here.
If I can change, if you try to completely cut out Jerusalem out of your life, you're saying it's impossible or
No, I think
undesirable,
it's
or
not desirable, but it is possible theoretically if the bigger prize was Mali.
miss the point. What do you mean?
Mali is the Holy Grail. I didn't go into this with David, but the bottom line is that the Holy Grail is Mali. Exactly as in the Dan Brown book, the Holy Grail is a person or a place. It is not a chalice. All that was whitewashing, deliberately misleading people to understand.
I meant really cut out spiritually.
Yeah, and I say
If
so
I forget Jerusalem,
quite unspiritually. I will not forget Jerusalem, but I will make it beyond the bounds of what is to be
so it's completely
dealt
part
with.
of you, eternally part of you.
It cannot be otherwise. It was from the very first moment when I was 18 years old that I set foot in Jerusalem. I knew it then.
But you don't have to live here.
It's not that I don't have to live here. I crave for a good reason to have in order to live here.
But
And
if
it
you just
won't
have
happen.
Jerusalem spiritually,
It
can
won't
live, can live in Warsaw, can live in Krakow, and
Yes, theoretically,
Yeah.
that's what the Jews in exile did for 2,000 years. Next year in
Jerusalem Shel Mala.
Jerusalem. Celestial Jerusalem.
Yes.
I'm much too rooted today in earthly Jerusalem to give up, especially when I'm so close. You have to understand that Frank the mild manic depressive was actually diagnosed with something a lot more severe, which
is
prevented him from drawing a livelihood, in being employable, and above everything else, actually having an understanding that it was either Jerusalem or sanity.
Jerusalem or sanity.
Or sanity.
Jerusalem or sanity.
Jerusalem or sanity.
And he opted for?
I didn't opt for either because I'm still convinced with my action parech, with my obsessive Jerusalem trip, that the two can be merged.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Combined.
I
Of
can
course.
tell you how, but I would be accused of being a prophet in my own city, and I rather wouldn't.
Well, there is a price to pay for Jerusalem.
There always has been, and
Does-
there always will be, for every single person who has ever set foot or loved or worked or studied in this city.
Doesn't come cheap.
Why should it? It's the specialist place on the planet. It is the origin of all the energy and love and creativity on planet Earth. And I believe in love and creativity and planet Earth.
Do you think the way that Hannah sees Jerusalem is somewhat similar to the way that you see Jerusalem?
Not in
or
any way.
Not in any way.
She's a totally tranquil individual who has come to terms with everything in her life and made all the necessary choices and is there calmly doing it on a day-to-day basis.
What's
Her
the source
her
of this
livelihood.
difference in perception? Why?
Well, her livelihood doesn't actually depend on the people that come in and out of that, cubbyhole. On the other hand, she understands by being a Jerusalemite and having chosen Jerusalem over Geneva and everything that means, it was a simple choice for her. It was a straightforward choice for her, not for me. Because I don't come from the world of spiritual seekers who want some kind of recipe to be happy.
Her family didn't like it, she said.
Ignore it.
It wasn't easy.
The family doesn't matter an iota in her case. The family matters absolute. With Mali, and with Shir, and with Shoshi, and with Sancha, and with Dubuli, this is my world. I have days upon days, Itzhaki, when my phone doesn't ring, because I've done nothing but look for the good of Jerusalem for 44 years. It may have carried me to the other ends of the earth, but it was all for and in the name of Jerusalem.
But again, it's interesting for me. Why for Hannah, Jerusalem is a sort of equanimity? I found it. It's peace. And for you, it's also a source of agitation. What's
It's
this?
not a source of agitation, it's a source of
Conflict.
of creativity, which actually acts as a conflict to the other things which I believe in as a human being.
Okay, put it differently. In your case, you feel you've got to do something metaphysical, like all the maps.
I
and
think
effort.
the basis has to be metaphysical,
Yes.
but that the actual doing has to be totally physical.
But why for her and for the other guys, though?
Because she doesn't know yet anything about the spiritual world which Jerusalem can be. And she remains and chooses to remain firmly rooted in the soil of Jerusalem. I can't, because I have to be on the other side of the world worrying about...
Where is your gin and tonic?
Hello again.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Where is your gin and tonic?
We enjoyed the coffee immensely. The gin and tonic is on me next time round.
Don't worry, don't worry.
You know, at Ben Gurion Airport,
Yeah?
You can't imagine how much you love Jerusalem.
Okay.
You keep telling us
He's not the only one.
it's a love story.
People are killing themselves
It's a-
over it.
Yes,
I
yes.
hope they find the strength and the love to embrace over it too.
It should bring love together, people together, not separate.
You're absolutely right, my friend.
Yeah.
Everybody I meet in Jerusalem is really sweet and nice and friendly and peaceful.
Ah, you haven't seen my
All the
other
people
side.
I've met.
You haven't seen his other side.
Samir, you're my other side, not what you think this is.
Has you seen the other side?
He means the Israeli occupation.
This
Did
side?
you realize?
No.
He means the Israeli forces of occupation, of police and army, and constant confrontation on the Temple Mount,
I didn't mean the other side of Benjie. Okay, I thought.
and the hassles he has every time he wants to leave the country with his wife. I have to apologize, yeah? But he's dead right. There is an opposite side of the sweetness and light. Nobody in Jerusalem wants to know what there is beyond that door. You spend all your effort finding a way to turn the handle so that you can go through that door to go to another door. And behind every door there's another closed door and another wall. You cannot discern Jerusalem's secrets.
I want to ask you again. Can you turn Jerusalem into a source of equanimity for yourself?
I believe it's possible with this business plan that I have drawn up, and I've spent a long time going into all the details, which I showed you 2 or 3 of the illustrations from. Okay, I've got a 2-kilo business plan, which doesn't even touch upon money. As to how to put all this stuff together for the greater equanimity of people who come here, people who work here and love here and study here and hate here.
But is it possible, just not, but is it possible that the very existence of a business plan prevents you from ever actually relaxing in Jerusalem? That you
Possibly.
It's possible.
But I can't give it up.
Like for
I've come so close to giving it up totally and utterly and saying, take it away from me.
no, what I mean for the guys who live in Jerusalem,
Yeah,
they don't need a business plan. They just leave Jerusalem.
correct.
My father, when he lived in Jerusalem,
Correct.
he was part of Jerusalem.
Correct. But I'm aspiring to assemble a theme park, a geo-information theme park, which will be in the prize real estate of the whole Jerusalem area, because
But-
there is nowhere like it, there is nowhere equivalent to it, and it actually has to start with a little cave where there is a trickle of water, and which I will be selling elves and fairies and underworld characters, and from there go on to much heavier geographic
Interesting.
information.
But I kind of feel that it's almost like taking a Tel Aviv mindset and imposing in Jerusalem.
No way.
But Jerusalem doesn't need this
No way.
Mickey Mouse theme
Jerusalem
park.
doesn't need me.
No, it needs you. It doesn't need
Jerusalem
the Mickey
doesn't need
Mouse
my business plan.
theme park.
It
Yes.
doesn't mean meeting together all the people that over the decades I've not put together, but I've collected one by one for the day when all of these things can come together. None of it is going to happen until there's angel VC money. And I'm awfully sorry, but what you need to start with is a business plan.
Yes, David.
Can you pause that for a second? Say hi to the camera.
Camera, hey!
People in Manchester will
They're
be
making
seeing
you into a movie star.
Of course. I'm making lots of films while I'm over here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What
And one
type
of them
of-
is a documentary which I'm calling Jerusalem Syndrome,
Oh.
which is about how Jerusalem has Jerusalem Syndrome and how the world has Jerusalem Syndrome. That's my theme. The other one is about Tel Aviv. Anyway, nice to meet you.
You see those three asses in the back row? Catch them.